Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. That's right, it's More Movies Weekly, number 36.
Chapter 36, The Quarterdeck.
Welcome to the podcast. My name's Greg Pfizer. His name's David Roberts. This is the podcast where we like to talk about movies, cinema, all those sort of things. This week we're kind of doing a bit of a mashup because we're covering a little bit of theatre here, Dave. We're going to be talking about the Tragedy of Macbeth. So this is the brand new film from Joel Coen. It's an Apple original film, also produced by A24, one of our favourite studios. This stars Denzel Washington. It stars Francis McDormand. We've got Brendan Gleeson in there. We got Ralph Ineson. We got all sorts of characters and actors and all sorts going on in this movie, which is obviously an adaptation of the Scottish play by Mr. William Shakespeare, Esquire. Most people have heard of him.
Yeah, it's been done a lot of times over the years. Orson Welles' famous version from the 40s. There was the Roman Polanski film. There was a version with Patrick Stewart in 2010 on British television. They did like a dramatised version. There's the famous kind of theatre performances which have been filmed. Ian McKellen and Judi Dench in the 1979. Jeremy Brett in 81, Anthony Sher in 2001, which is Prince Charles's favourite player of Macbeth.
This one, Joel Coen's done it on his own. So it's usually Joel and Ethan Coen doing films together. As we said in last week's podcast, Ethan Coen has gone and directed some theatre somewhere, probably, Broadway or something like that, Excellent adaptation. Really brilliant. Most striking in my mind was the way it was shot. It's all in black and white, of course, as well. And yeah, as I said, I think looks like, Fritz Lang or really Ingmar Bergman was a big one. I thought straight away, the Seventh Seal and things like that. Also, the aspect ratio, the 4:3 ratio, it's like, in a way, he was saying, let's make it as if it was made in the 1930s or something, There was that aspect of it as well. Because why not do it in a widescreen format otherwise? Very striking, very, very striking in that sense, and excellently put together. It's very impressive how much you can do with so little.
Yeah, it did look very stylish, very interesting. You mentioned Seventh Seal. I think that's a really interesting kind of comparison. I can see what you mean. It was very, very high contrast. And it definitely relates to something like that. It's interesting, really, because when I saw the trailer, I very much thought this looks like filmed theatre. Yes, the first impression I got. Yeah. But actually watching it, I then thought, actually, it's not. It's more that it's done all on backlots and sets. So it harks more back, as you say, to classic Hollywood, 1950s, 1940s kind of everything's a set. And definitely hints of German expressionism.
Well, that's what I meant about Fritz Lang, like something Metropolis. Or that film Spionen.
I mean, that's it. It looked like probably. I was thinking as well of Fritz Lang, something like The Passion of Joan of Arc, Carl Dreyer. I think it's the thing with the extreme close-ups and the expressionistic kind of look. I think that's where it gets it from. Sure, because and it makes sense because it's a lot of monologues. It's a lot of single person talking, expressing their feeling. So it's got to focus on the one person. We see a bit of that in the film with this kind of spotlight look, which that's what you'd use on stage, and so in the context of doing it, it's the perfect visual language to tie it together, isn't it? Yeah.
So we've got Denzel Washington in the lead role. He's always great. There was no doubt he was going to be great in this. But it's some of the other actors, I think, that kind of stole the show in the way. I'm thinking particularly the woman who played the witches, Catherine Hunter. Her performance, for me, was the standout performance. Because usually you have three people because there's three witches. But the way they've chose to do this is have her represent all three. Very bold choice. Why would you need anyone else? She was going to act them off the screen anyway because she's so good at it. And they kind of liken the character to like crows or ravens or whatever. And she's got this kind of contorted way of moving her body that is very, representative of that kind of, that corvid kind of movements, like the wings and everything. And
absolutely. And yeah, that amazing shot, which is my favourite shot of the film, with the puddle and the reflections down to create the three witches, and that I thought that was just stunning. And she was fantastic. The best performance of the film, Catherine Hunter, mainly a theatre actor reading up, a virtuoso physical performer, they call her, because that's her thing, is doing all these physical things. It felt very much to me like Gollum or something.
Gollum, I was going to say that because of the voice more than anything. She had that kind of, okay.
What's it saying, my precious, my love? That shall be king hereafter.
The one thing that this film didn't have, because it had the look and the atmosphere and the performances were great and the production fantastic, I did sit there thinking it's just a little bit hollow. It didn't quite have the weight I expected it to have. I don't think it was as vicious or violent as the story really required it to be, and maybe that was just a little bit missing.
Mm-hmm.
They're supposed to be schemers and plotters, and it wasn't. I don't think it quite was there.
I think the problem I had there was this. There was zero sort of chemistry between McDormand and Washington.
Yeah,
that should be there. They're a tight couple. They're really, like you said, schemers, and they're kind of in the thick of it together. I didn't quite come across quite right. I think. I don't blame Denzel, though. I think he was good in it. I thought he played it well, being led along the garden path a little bit and falling into that madness. I'm just not sure whether she did. But it's just personal opinion. And overall, it's a great adaptation.
It is.
So there's very little to complain about or to criticize, really. These are nitpicking things. I'd certainly, if I had a classroom full of kids that you had to teach this to as we were taught it, this would be my first go-to. It'd be like, right, let's watch the modern adaptation of it and start picking it apart from there on in. Again, I think I'll say again, I think the strongest suit was the look of it all, the cinematography, absolutely. The mise-en-scene, that battle that he has at the end with Macduff was really well filmed. And I think he's also proved that he doesn't really need his brother to make a good film. So it begs the question, what's in the future for the Coen brothers, or are we just going to see Joel Coen go off on his own? Will Ethan Coen decide, I'll make a film on my own now? And
would be interesting.
They'll be making films individually from now on. Will they get back together? And I mean, I don't think there's been any split between them. Of course, they're brothers. They're always going to be.
No.
And like I said, they've been making films for 40 years. So, can't blame them for wanting to go off and try new things without one another.
I think, it's a really great film. It is the one I'd recommend people to watch for watching Macbeth. I mean, the other one I think is really great is the old Ian McKellen and Judi Dench. I think their performance in the recorded play version is fantastic as well. But this is a really great introduction to it. I definitely recommend it to people. The look, as you say, is the big thing about it. The look, the atmosphere, the whole production element of it is what really stands out, and it's a great film for that.
So there we go. That's our take on The Tragedy of Macbeth, directed by Joel Coen. Have you seen this movie? What did you think of it? Did you like Denzel Washington's performance? Did you think that Frances McDormand was great casting? Let us know in the comments. It'd be great to hear from you. That's it.
Okay, time for some movie news, Greg.
Alrighty.
The first story coming out this week. How about filming in space?
Filming in space. Wow. Has it ever been done before?
I think they've done bits and pieces, like
I mean, obviously NASA film in space all the time.
Yes.
People up on the
Okay,
ISS and stuff like that, they're always filming. But I know as well, Apollo 13, they kind of did that thing where they, you get right on the edge of the atmosphere and then do a sort of dive just so they could create that weightless effect, where they're all floating about. Kevin Bacon. Woo.
I think bits and pieces have been done, but basically, this new company called Space Entertainment Enterprise is planning to build a production studio in space.
Wow.
And they're going to be producing a Tom Cruise movie, apparently.
Why am I not surprised that Tom Cruise is first on the list to film a movie in space?
I'm just telling you right now, okay? Just put your manners back in.
It's part of a massive enterprise. They want to build a sports arena in space and all this crazy stuff. It does sound a bit wacky. It sounds like something from Futurama.
Yeah.
But, they've got all these ideas and plans, and they reckon they'll have a filming facility running by December 2024.
Mad.
Which doesn't sound that far away for.
I mean, it's going to have a great use for filming space projects. If you've got these films like Gravity or Apollo 13 or whatever it is, sci-fi stuff, and you want to create certain like weightless effects and stuff like that, it'd be really cool for that. But zero practical use anywhere else. I mean, no. if you need gravity, you got to stay here on the planet.
And I do hope you understand the gravity of that request.
I'm not surprised Tom Cruise is attached to it because he's just crazy enough to try anything like that. He seems hell-bent on doing himself in one way or another through the films he makes.
How did Tom Cruise die in space?
No! You will not take my soul. No! You will not win this game.
How did Tom Cruise die? Making a movie. I'll put money on it. No matter whether it's here on planet Earth, on terra firma, or up there in the stratosphere. God knows. But then again, maybe he survived. He's one of those guys that the space studio exploded and Tom fell to Earth without a parachute and somehow survived. I wouldn't be surprised at that either. He's got something, he's got the luck of the gods on his side. But I think it's a bit of a strange idea. All of this sort of space exploration, SpaceX trying to go to Mars, all this stuff, building stuff on the moon. It's all well and good, but there's so many problems down here on the planet. You sometimes think, can't you just pump a little bit of money into cleaning up the oceans, cleaning up the atmosphere a bit, clean the planet up, and then we'll all go and explore space and do all this crazy stuff. Maybe that's a naive perspective, but that's the first thing I always think when I hear news like this.
It is. It is. I think it's exactly what we all feel. It's like, sort the shit out at home before you go off into space. And it does feel like a bit of a throwback to kind of the ideas and aspirations of the 50s and 60s, doesn't it?
Well, we still haven't got flying cars, so,
No.
Come on, guys.
There's some other things to do first, but
it's like if Elon Musk turned around and said, "Okay, guys, we've made the first flying car," I'd be like, "Whoa, you've got my attention.
Here we go.
Let's have a look at this." Doing a bit of a Howard Stark. Filming in space. I tell you one good side effect from it all, it'll shut the flat earthers up a bit. Because if everybody starts doing this like Branson thing where they're doing trips to space, like anyone can go to space now on a space holiday, and you get to visit, Universal Studios in space, and people are going to be able to see that that flat earth thing is a load of bullshit.
I'd love them to do that. That's the one thing I'd love them to spend the money on. Get all the flat earthers, the major ones, whack them on one of these spaceships and send them up and go, there you go, see? That'd be worth the money. But,
just get them all on a spaceship and send them up. Just keep going. Keep going.
In other news, Aardman Animations, of course, a British institution. They've obviously been working with Netflix over the last few years, and they did Robin was a big hit for them over Christmas. So they've announced another film with Netflix, which is going to be a sequel to Chicken Run.
Oh, yeah, Chicken Run. I remember that.
Absolute classic. I loved Chicken Run growing up. A great film. It's going to be Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget. So...
That's a great title.
Yeah, what the film's going to be about, it's like...
it sounds like chickens avoiding getting turned into nuggets.
That's it.
I know.
Yeah,
wasn't Mel Gibson one of the voices in the first one?
Yes, he was, and he's been recast.
He's in it again as well, is he?
No, he's been recast.
He's been
replaced.
recast. Sorry.
Yeah.
They couldn't afford Mel, or he wasn't interested. One or the other.
Or they didn't want him for controversial reasons. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, he's been replaced, and Jane Horrocks is going to be one of the voices. Okay. Imelda Staunton and Lynn Ferguson.
Good.
With Ramesh Ranganathan, David Bradley, Nick
a lot of
Mahaney.
Brits.
Yeah, very British kind of look to it, as you'd expect from Aardman, I think.
Yeah. Well, that was the whole thing with Chicken Run, wasn't it? He turned up and he was like this sort of American hero rooster, wasn't he? He was like, hey. Yeah. And they were all like, ooh, we got something a bit exotic here. Got an American rooster. Remember Foghorn Leghorn? Boy, I say boy.
Say, what's the big idea? Don't stand there gawking, son. Speak up.
But yeah, I always love Chicken Run, so I'd be up for seeing a new one. And
Why not?
I love Aardman films, and they're
good.
Always great, aren't they? So
I used to love those creature comforts things they did as well.
Yeah,
those little shorts. I mean, the amount of time it takes. Stop motion animators just incredible because they have so much patience. And it takes twice as long to make those sort of films as it does to make a normal film, It's very interesting stuff. I really like stop motion stuff. And Aardman, probably the most successful, certainly in the UK, possibly internationally, at doing that sort of thing. I mean, everybody knows Wallace and Gromit, don't they?
Well done. We did it.
That's it.
Yes.
More cheese, Gromit.
Wensleydale.
And to finish us off, we of course covered Dune back at the end of last year here on the podcast, and we both really enjoyed the film. Fantastic. And of course, it was left at the ending. We know there was going to be a sequel, and it was announced shortly after there was going to be a sequel. Well, pre-production on that sequel, Dune 2, is well underway. There's been a tweet made by Villeneuve basically saying they've finished the screenplay. And they're just about to start the storyboards. So pre-production is well into the phase, really. Into the next piece. So very exciting. It'll probably still be a few years before we see it, but exciting. It's happening.
Yeah, I'd say probably 2024 at the earliest.
Probably, yeah.
I am excited that they're in pre-production for part 2. They've got to complete this. There's got to be a trilogy of films, to get through all of it in the story, and I think it will be great. But I'm kind of like positive on it all. Anyway, I'm still a fan of the Lynch version, even though half people hate it, including David Lynch himself. But I think it's a lot of fun. So it'd be great to see what they do with the next installment. And as usual, that leaves us just enough time to tell you about what we've been up to on our YouTube channel and our website this week. So let's start off by telling you we did a reaction to the new film from Robert Eggers, The Northman, which is coming soon, I think maybe released later this year. It stars Alexander Skarsgård, Anya Taylor-Joy. It's got Björk in it. It's got quite a few notable faces. Ethan Hawke's in there as well. So we did a reaction to that trailer. You can check it out here on the channel. We've put a link for you in the description below.
If you want to listen to us on the move or just in audio format only, you can check us out across all that kind of podcast networks, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all those regular normal ones. We've got a link down in the description below where you can find out all the links for checking those kind of things out.
We also have a Discord server if you want to catch up with us there and come and have a conversation over on Discord. we're also there. So again, I'll link in the description below. There we go, Dave. I think that's it for this week. Number 36 wrapped up, put into a bow, sent off out into the internet. Thank you very much for watching, keeping up with us. Leave us a comment, let us know what you thought of the show. We'll be back next week talking about some more stuff. Until then, all we can say is take care of yourselves, keep watching more movies. Well, that's it for this video. Please leave us a comment and let us know what you thought. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe right here on YouTube. To check out more of our articles and reviews, check out our website, moremovies.co.uk. And why not join us on social media? That's at More Movies for you, across the board. You know the score. And if you'd like to support us, consider buying us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com, or you can become a More Movies patron over on patreon.com. All the links are in the description below. And to check out more of our filmtastic videos, click one of the buttons on screen now.